Black Widow was a Marvel movie. Alright, that's it. Go home. See you next time. But how good of a Marvel movie was it? I enjoy going to see Marvel movies. I've seen every Marvel movie as far as I am aware. I'm watching the new TV series that have been coming out. I have a good time watching them, and usually I can sit through and enjoy it and go, that was good, until I start thinking about it. Usually. Sometimes it stands out a little bit more. So there are some good Marvel movies and there are some bad Marvel movies, and how do you differentiate these two? A bad Marvel movie usually is just Iron Man again. When Iron Man came out, great movie. I still love Iron Man. I think it's great. But when you do the exact same formula over and over again, where it's like, here's this dude, they're worthy of powers because of this is how they get their powers, and oh no, it's another version of me that I have to defeat and prove that I am the real one, best one, and oh no, they have even more power, or they stole something of mine, and whatever. It's a lot of them. I think the worst offender of just Iron Man again is Doctor Strange as possibly the most mediocre superhero film that I have seen. A good Marvel movie is one that, like Chop, transforms the ingredients into something new. I think that Spider-Man Homecoming is a great example, because it's not just a superhero movie. It's Peter Parker as a teen dealing with the fact that he's a superhero and balancing it with his school life, and it's more about that tension than it is about the battle. And even the battle kind of ties into his school life too. Homecoming's good. Homecoming is good. And Thor Ragnarok is just honestly not only one of my favorite Marvel movies, but one of my favorite movies of all time. I think that movie is genuinely hilarious. So where does Black Widow fall in? Well, as I often say about a lot of movies, there's kind of like two movies in there. One is a really good Marvel movie, and one is a really basic Marvel movie. The good Marvel movie focuses in on the dysfunctional spy family, which is such a good conceit. Like, any movie that you could describe to me as dysfunctional spy family is going to be a pretty good movie. It's a very good new take on an old classic. If there are other movies like that out there, recommend them to me. So Black Widow's family were literally all spies whose job it was to pretend to be a family, and then they have actual family crises together. It is a fun metaphor to use to explore the dysfunctional family archetype, where it's like, Dad, it always felt like taking care of us was your job. Well, to be fair, it was just my job. But he still wants to be loved and respected as the father. It's good. It's a great thinly veiled metaphor to explore those topics, and it works so well. And it's so silly. By all accounts, these people are co-workers, but they still find it in themselves to become a family and choose each other over the organization, That's fantastic, and the family works so well. And the odd one out is Natasha. Natasha has the unfortunate luxury of being in other Marvel films already. Natasha is this action figure that interacts with her Mega Bloks family. It works, but you can tell that there's an odd one out. The family got to be created for this movie, for the purposes of this movie, and thus they are way more vibrant characters. And Natasha's kind of like the straight man, like, it's not weird interacting with them, but she does periodically have to go, now hang on everybody in this room, everybody watching at home, I'm an Avenger. Remember? I was in other movies. One of the most awkward conversations between her and her sister. I feel like a lot of the conversations between her and her sister get a little awkward at some point. Oh, you pose when you do those tricks, and it's like, ah ha ha ha. And then out of nowhere, hey, I've been trying to save the world, so can you get off my back? Sorry, I thought we were having light banter. I forgot that you were an Avenger. My favorite awkward conversation that they have is her sister asks, are you interested in any boys out there? How are they gonna handle this after Age of Ultron? No. You ever want a family? Whatever. And the answer is that they basically didn't acknowledge the Age of Ultron stuff. Which, thank goodness. But also, what a strange conversation to have in your movie, to be like, so Age of Ultron? We don't talk about that. This movie is so standalone, like, you could definitely watch it without watching any other Marvel movie and get 99% of it, except for when she's like, yeah, the Avengers aren't talking, and you go, what? Why do you keep on bringing that up? Is there any relevance to that in this situation? And the answer, even if you do know about the Avengers, is no. She just always brings it up. Gotta tie it in somehow. And that's where the movie becomes weak, is when Natasha goes, I'm an Avenger and I have to save the day. And no, it doesn't directly affect me and my personal values. It's just something that I'd like to, check off my list. It's more personal to Elena, her sister. Personal stakes are basically non-existent. It's kind of avenging. I don't know. I don't know. Don't get me started on it. I don't have any thoughts on what the stakes are in this movie other than that there's an infinite amount of expendable girls in the world for me to use. I don't know how the theater didn't burst out laughing at that line with me. During the final climactic bit, they keep on intercutting from it intercuts from Natasha breaking her nose to be like, haha, I can't smell. And then cutting back to her talking to her mother being like, make sure you find a way to not smell in that room because it'll be important. And it's like, yeah, we figured it out in the moment. It's actually way worse that there was a flashback to, oh, this is how you defeat the final boss instead of figuring it out in the moment. Kind of cheapens it. Movies are not good. The climax is a bit of a mess because it's just straight Avengers Marvel movie. The most egregious thing about it is Taskmaster, which I was really excited for Taskmaster. I think they were really cool. I think their early fight scenes are really, really cool. Like the one on the bridge, I was like, yes, I'm vibing with this. I can't wait for this villain to show back up on screen. It's described that fighting Taskmaster is like fighting a mirror. Like there's no way beyond it because they know every fighting style and can counter anything. I read a comic where Deadpool defeats Taskmaster by switching to dance, and I think that's a great response. And it would have been great to, I don't know, have Natasha beat her with ballet, because I'm pretty sure they learned ballet in the Black Widow program. But, no, at the end, the climax, because it's the end of the movie, Natasha just fights gooder than she ever fought before. In the exact same way that she does. Like, she uses all of her signature moves, and Taskmaster just goes, you beat me. I don't know how to counter those things that I was countering earlier in the movie. That was a letdown. Heroes should be outmatched, and then they should come up with a clever way to defeat the bad guy. That's why we like heroes, is that they're often the underdog. It's impossible to defeat these people, but they figured out the secret. They figured out the weak point. They figured out how to outsmart them. Or no, they just fight really good because they learn the true identity of who they're fighting. Whatever. Lots of strange choices in the climax. I really appreciated that who I'm going to refer to as Evie and Hopper were both superheroes because they were portrayed visibly middle-aged and they can still go out there and rock it. And I think that's great. And I think it's important to show people that you don't have to be these cookie cutters, conventionally attractive people in order to be a superhero. You can be, a mom and dad. The violence was ticked up a notch in this movie, which took me by surprise and definitely early on, kind of made me a little uncomfortable until I settled into the fact that they were still doing the Marvel amount of damage to people. The first example is that there is a jump scare where Natasha gets blown up in a car. I'm pretty sure with an RPG. Movies are ridiculous. She gets blown up in a car and she maybe has a scratch here and gets out and then fights. And it is so jarring and violent. My other example is that at some point she jumps and misses her mark. And so she Looney Tunes falls completely out of control, smashing on things. At one point she lands flat on her back and then she keeps falling and then she lands on her feet and immediately goes into a run. Why didn't they have her control her fall or something? It would have been way more believable than just her slamming around like a rag doll. They really like to ragdoll Scarlett Johansson in this movie. Oh, and Scarlett Johansson should be able to renegotiate her contract to get a cut of the Disney Plus sales. 'Cause duh. And just in case you're unaware, if Disney is ever going to court over something, Disney's probably doing something evil. Don't drink their Kool-Aid. I'm gonna go get my tinfoil hat. I hope the mouse doesn't assassinate me. How many Marvel movies are there? Okay, I give Black Widow a 14 out of 24. Better than average, especially if you focus on the good half of the movie. Okay, you think that's it? You think that's it?